Guys, you got to see this firsthand here. These are the legacy Autoboat units, and this is what it has now evolved to. A much cleaner, better operating, smoother, and more accurate system. Okay guys, this is the beauty of nav mode. So we're gonna go ahead and point right here. Just get us out here a little bit. And then, right over there, we're gonna turn the trolling motor 360 or 180, push it toward that dock, press nav mode, and watch it straighten itself out. Nav mode. There it is. Nav mode will point you from an A to B line any way you push it. But you need to be in control and know where you're going. You hit anchor. All right. Oh, very good. Very impressive. That was just, what, 6 feet? 5 feet? Turned you right around on that point. Hey guys, how are you? So this is a video all about how the Light Skiff Air is now my new favorite portable rig. But before that, I got a few updates. If you don't really care about those updates, just go ahead and skip to this part of the video. I understand. But I just got some updates for some of you who are wondering. So for one, I read through all the comments after my last video telling you kind of why I'd been on a hiatus, and you guys were like, well, take your time, rest and relax. And there was like a key emphasis correlating on relax. So took your advice. I went to Williams, Arizona, which is kind of my default vacation place to get away from the heat here. It's like 115, 116 Fahrenheit on the regular during the summer, with peak days going even to like 120, 125. And on occasion, it gets up to 130 at the peak of the day. And you just wonder what you're doing with your life. Every year it gets that hot. Every year I wonder how like all the cars and ACs in the town don't just explode and fail. But somehow we get through it every summer, and then we enjoy the other 8. The other 8 months out of the year are fantastic, but it's a little struggle to get to them. I actually took a vacation for the first time, an actual one, not a workcation, but a vacation, and we went to the Grand Canyon. I'll tell you what, I mean, there are some impressive canyons out there in the country, but you know, when you look at that canyon, you just, that is a legit canyon. There is nothing else that compares to that. That is something, there's something to be said about that place. It's legit. First time in 40 years I ever went there. And I'm an Arizona local, so there's just no excuse. But when we got back from that, we went ahead and checked out the local Williams festivities. So that included 4 lakes, 3 of which were probably getting hammered continuously during the entire 4th of July weekend. So we kind of stayed clear of them the first few days. But I did make it out to one of my favorite lakes, Whitehorse. And I had taken most of my small rigs out there and tested them out there. That's like my testing ground for like, how well do these portable rigs that fit inside an RV or fit in the back of your truck bed do? And so the Light Skiff, I already knew that it would perform fairly well. Like we did try it in Sholo. When I took my previous camping trip, that was to Lyman Lake, where we got owned. I could not catch a fish there to save my life. It was very, very devastating to my ego going to that lake. It was so tough. And so we actually abandoned that lake and went to Sholo, and that's where I kind of fell in the water.
Final round.
But we got a taste of what the Light Skiff Air could actually do. This is pretty sweet. Ultra portable, stows in the back of a car trunk if you need. Extremely stable. So if we're talking about the Light Skiff versus the Light Skiff Air, a lot of people were not happy, for one, with the price of the Light Skiff, and 2, with the weight capacity. And so there was constant comments about those 2 things. It's too expensive. A lot of comments about how is it going to hold somebody who's 300 pounds. And then there's some comments saying that the majority of my audience is likely 300 pounds or approaching. So I don't even know if that's true, but if it is, well, then it is. So I got a boat that'll hold 2 of you, like 860 pound capacity in the Light Skiff Air. And I know that sounds like maybe it's a little inflated, no pun intended, but actually I was walking around this thing all over the place, up and down the sides of the air chambers and right in the front. And then I stationed myself right in the middle while I was anchored with the Autoboat Smarthead to get the max position to where I could just try to frog for these bass. I'll tell you what, it was extremely stable for me. And then obviously my son came in at twice at this point. So both of us absolutely exceed 300 pounds just by ourselves. I mean, just the two of us, and the boat just didn't even flinch. The boat is extremely stable. It's incredibly stable. I didn't think a watercraft that size, regardless of inflation or not, could be that stable. But what happens is, like, you get these watercraft and they make all these modified tri-hull variations, because a tri-hull in and of itself puts a lot of pressure in the hull against the water, so the boat can only sink so much before the physics of the water stop the boat from sinking as you put pressure on it. But you know what stops a boat from sinking even better than a tri-hull design? Air. Air stops a boat from sinking at all. Like, it really, really resists. You got to put an obscene amount of weight on that boat to sink air underwater. It just doesn't mix. And then there was ease of use. There's a lot of comments against the light skiff saying, well, it's never going to replace non-motorized watercraft because it's too much of a turd to push through the water. And yeah, it probably is true. It's probably horrible to row. I never even tried it. I'm like, I'm not going to row that thing. That put motors on both ends of that boat so I could do what I needed it to do. But this one, you could absolutely just row this boat. You would need like a bullnose rudder or some sort of ruddering system in the back to keep you straight, but you could absolutely row it from the front. So I did actually row it at points in time where there were the weed mats there were so thick that they impeded my ability to fish those tully lines. So I put both motors up and I pushed myself on the front of the bow with the kayak oar. That was the worst Walmart kayak oar ever. It had this little section that kept grabbing the weeds. I threw it away. But if you had the right oar, like an inflatable sup oar, you could definitely, that would probably be the best oar. You carry one of those on the side or inside the boat and bust that thing out when you need to get across a flat section or a section of mats or weeds like that, and you can get anywhere in that boat. The boat literally glided over everything. And I could have got right in on those mats if I wanted to, or fished anywhere inside those mats. But when I wasn't in those mats and I was in the open water, I was anchored, and a 40-pound trolling motor seemed to be perfect. Anything more than that is probably honestly too much for the boat. So I installed that smart head on the trolling motor before we even got out there. And the smart head is Autoboat's new design. All right, guys, the Autoboat, the black box, that whole system with the GPS puck and all that, this is no longer a thing that we're using. We have a complete Autoboat system working right here, but it's actually all in just the head. So rather than put all that extra stuff and get that box in there, get the puck here, and have all that stuff and worry about where to store it, get it out of the way, it's all just in here now. And it's actually a lot better. You can hear all the beeps, you can hear everything work. It's much more accurate because everything is just positioned to be more accurate. The accuracy of this over the legacy units is going to be much better. Like, this is all that's here. There's nothing more to this whole unit. I mean, we got the motor servo, one wire, and then your trolling motor wire. Then we have 6-gauge leads running down. I'll go ahead and calibrate it right now. It's out here in the open. Oh, it's ready to go. Okay. It eliminates essentially all the issues people were having with the legacy design. So if you've had an Autoboat, don't get rid of it. It's an awesome system, but all the Autoboat systems bought just recently, those are all put in legacies. We're no longer going to be carrying them. We're only going to be carrying the smart head because the smart head is just that much more efficient. It works better and is way less problems. I assume that people will absolutely love the smart head. Once they install it on their trolling motor, it's super easy to do. And it is absolutely a key player in this boat because the first time I took it out, I had the original Autoboat legacy system and I had to put that box somewhere. One of the biggest complaints we got about Autoboat is where you're going to put that box, the black box. You can't stow it anywhere. It's got to be close to the trolling motor because of all the wires. Some people returned it because they just didn't have nowhere to put the box. So we got rid of the box. The box is in the head. And the GPS unit is also in the head, and it just cleans the system up so much better. Oh, it's gonna be tough to fish now. It's gonna be tough to even load the boat in the water with this wind. We would be absolutely screwed right now without spot lock.
Who created
I just attached a trolling motor wire to some 6-gauge leads, ran them all the way back to a lifetime battery in the back. The lifetime battery is pretty sick, by the way. We're going to be getting a review on that battery as well. And then I put that battery underneath the back little bench that has a little adjustable bench seat in the back that slides back and forth on like gnarl hooks, like slat hooks for inflatables, and the battery just sat underneath there. When I was by myself, the boat was so stable, I was even able to stand on top of that Yeti cooler and get ultimate positioning. Where if if things started getting a little shaky for whatever reason, turbulence, waves, I just grabbed the grab bar and stabled myself out. But I was able to get ultimate casting prowess because when the wind started actually going and blowing around, the boat started going everywhere. And the anchor, of course, just stays in one spot, but the rest of the boat blows wherever the wind blows it. And so as it was blowing, I just would move around and cast. And I would never be out of a position versus being stuck at the front or at the back where, position is key if you're going to get an optimal cast. So it was nice. I was able to catch my share of fish there, have my like little seasonal time there at that lake. It's one of my favorite little lakes ever. This is so nice. I can't believe I almost didn't do this. Airborne. Yeah. Oh, you're gonna pull me in the weeds and I'm not gonna be able to get out. Huh, he's almost a pound. Would you freaking smoke that thing? There you go. If you can get through that, then you can get through anything. We also did hit another local favorite lake, but it was after that lake is probably the most popular lake in Williams. Dogtown Lake, and it just got smashed. You could tell when we went there, nothing wanted to bite. There was a bunch of little puny ones like this, and I just didn't have it in me to fish for them. So we kind of threw what we threw and gave up and left. But we got to, my son and I, we got to test it in the wind, in conditions, got to test the Autoboat Smart Head system, got to test this and have a good time on it this time versus how rough it was the last time. And I personally can't think of any boat in its similar price range that is that stable that can do what this boat does. I think the light skiff era is probably the most awesome boat for the money in terms of transportability. You can't beat something that can roll up into a bag and be stuck in a car trunk. I don't care. You can talk about a car top or kayak all day, but you still got to put that thing on a car rack. Like, you can put this in your trunk. Technically, that's reason one. I told you 3 reasons. Reason 2, stability. It's probably as stable as my 1648 John boat. Maybe even more. Like, it's stable. It'll hold anything. And then 3, ease of use. It can be pushed around non-motorized really well. It can be pushed around just fine with a trolling motor in the front or the rear. In this case, we did run the new E-Light, which is like ePropulsion's new ultra lightweight outboard. It's like 1.5 horsepower, about half the power of the Spirit 1.0, 500 watts. But I'll tell you, it pushed that boat like 5-6 miles an hour. I was extremely impressed. I didn't think it was going to do it. I know a lot of people are like, why don't you just get dual trolling motors? Because then you need dual batteries. Well, you don't. You could run both trolling motors off of one battery, but you couldn't run them both at the same time. You'd have to have 2 separate batteries, and 2 batteries in that boat would start to get pretty bulky and heavy. Not that it really matters because of the weight capacity, but I mean, just 2 batteries on a boat that small is a mess. And the battery is just right in that little core of the E-Light. It just fits right in there. And that thing was also under $1,000. For the price and the weight and the fact that I could just throw that thing in the core of the boat while I'm transporting, and then it stows almost anywhere because it's that much smaller than the Spirit. It's now my primary little micro outboard for this rig when I'm going out to these places. Now, this boat can actually take up to a 10 horsepower legally rated, which probably means it'll actually take a 15, but that's for another video. And that thing scoots with a 10 horse, scoots across the water with a 10 horse. So a 15 is absolutely just going to plane 2 of us. So we'll be testing that on my home lake when it's not a freaking sauna out there, when it's actually just kind of nice and we can just we get some reasonable temperatures. I have the fishing itch. I've been kind of slowly kind of fulfilling that itch with my other passion, which is mountain biking. That's another big thing I did in Williams. When I wasn't on those lakes, I was mountain biking. I actually have a huge passion for mountain biking in much the same way I have a huge passion for boating and fishing. But anyways, between those 2 things, I've been having a lot of fun. Mountain biking is pretty relaxing, and the fishing was relaxing. I did feel it, though, in the tennis tennis elbow did flare up when I was casting that rod, and especially in the hook sets, man, I could feel it. Man, it's like kind of devastating. I was like wondering, you hear about these pros that have been fishing for a long time, they get tennis elbow and the stuff they have to go through to get it repaired, but man, it really hinders your ability to fish, your ability to cast, and especially the hook sets are just like ultra painful and all your strength's not there. And I had 6 fish dead to rights. I only was able to land 3. And so that just really tells me I got to take it super easy on the arm and do anything and everything I can to get it repaired and back to full function, or I'm screwed. Because not only can I not really build boats very effectively or anything very effectively, but I can't cast without extreme pain. And that was just a frog. Imagine what happens when I try and cast like a heavy 6-ounce swim bait. The arm's just going to explode. So yeah, there's all these problems as you get older, but I'll be heading them straight on. We're going to take them all out. But guys, you got to check out this light skiff error. It is an awesome little rig. It is my favorite rig, and it is now my primary rig that I will be using for applications like this. If it suits you, check it out, guys. I'll see you on the next one.